Welcome to the Lovecars on the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff, Needell and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to Lovecars on the Grid, your global motorsport podcast roundup. There wasn't a massive amount going on, but there were some dramatic moments this weekend in the world of motorsport. There's still much debate about Formula One and the rules and regulations, and we'll have a quick chat about that. There was a massive controversy in WRC. It came down to a baseball cap. And then on the other side of the pond in Indycar, there was a bit of controversy, but it was more of a balaclava controversy. So we'll come into that as well, if you're shaking your head wondering what on earth I'm talking about. Toronto, there's a bit of racing there. There was Donington, World Superbikes. And New York, there was a Formula E race.
Rain drama.
Yeah, there certainly was.
NASCAR, there was door-bagging drama. There were moments of drama, but no really exciting races at the end in the full analysis.
Well, let's go into each one, shall we? Let's start off with this Formula One. We like to start off with Formula One, and it's just a bit of controversy.
Have you read about it?
Yeah, I did. Apparently, the scrutineers aren't checking things properly, which it sounds like a catering race. No, I take that back because the scrutineers are very thorough. Okay.
Well, according to what I read on Twitter, it's Rule 315.8, if you want to go and find out what that is. And I don't know what it's about, do you? It's about planks, and apparently skid blocks were being pushed into the floor, which skid blocks, I honestly don't know. But it's all too complicated for me to bother to investigate. But there's rumours that there's this regulation that, keeps the ride height at a certain point that's been broken, and scrutineers aren't checking it. So Twitter says. I don't know.
Do you believe everything you read on Twitter, Tiff?
No, I'm just saying so Twitter says. I'm just saying there could be a problem. but anyway, so Formula One's going through a little bit of a hiatus, but I'm looking forward. Although we'll go at the end about this Paul Ricard, because now that Mercedes are getting closer and Ferrari are now quick in straight line, big straight line circuit. Paul Ricard, even the teams are saying they're worried about track limits. Already, that I think it was Horner said, the track limits is going to be a big problem. The whole trouble with Ricard, it was built as a test facility, which is why it's got this massive runoffs. So it was built for safety, complete safety, so you couldn't hit anything anywhere. But of course, if you run out of road, there's just horrible paints. It looks awful because of those stupid paints. And so they're already saying these track limits following from Austria could be a big problem.
Okay, let's move on to World Rally Championships in Estonia. I just want to start off with something. I just want to start off with something before we go into the actual racing. You're obviously familiar with Appendix 4 of the 2022 WRC Sporting Regulations, Article 1.15. You're obviously familiar with that?
Yeah, yes, of course. Of course. Yeah. Professional driver, I read these things.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to attend the press conferences or the podium or anything like that without your sponsor's hat on.
Of course not.
I know, which everybody knows, of course. So, but Mr. Tanak has been found guilty of doing so. It's funny, isn't it? It is funny. I get it with the sponsors; they put a lot of money into.
Well, yeah, they do have to. But I think that what it's the fuss they made about the FIA, or I don't know which one, that was the World Endurance Race. But it was a pretty dull rally, as this kid, Kalle Rovanpera, just romped to another win. On day one, when he had to start on the surface, so he's the road sweeper, Elfyn Evans briefly led. We all got excited. But as soon as it was level pegging, Rovanpera just overtook him. He won by over a minute. And then Elfyn was Tanak in third, was he 2 minutes behind. Rallying at the moment, it's a bit of a shame. It's a Kalle march to victory. It's a bit sort of Toyota, obviously better than Hyundai still. Hyundai have got two great drivers, with Tanak and Neuville. And then the Fords are sort of third best. So it's very much manufacturer pacing. The two Toyotas came out in front. Two Hyundais were third and fourth. And the best Ford was Adrien Fourmé in seventh. Craig Breen fell off on the first day early on. But yes, so it was a dull rally. But then this scandal. And so it was all investigated. It wasn't like sort of a quick behind the scenes, come on, you got to wear your hat. Here's your $3,000 fine. It was went to the stewards. And Ott said it, because I think there were two podiums. You have a podium for the super stage, which is the last stage, the special extra stage, forget the name of it. And then there's also the podium for the final results. I think he said he got soaked in champagne for the first podium, so I didn't wear it. And then they checked back. They went into the steward's room and got all the video and checked. No, you weren't wearing it at the first podium either. And so it went on until they come out with a $4,000 fine that's suspended for 2 months or a year. And
well, he had to pay $1,000, 1,000 euros actually, 4,000 euros, which is pretty much parity for the first time ever, dollars and euros. But it's 1,000 euros, and the 3,000 was suspended over the next 2 years. So there you go.
There has to be a better rules. Have to be better. I think it was just a whale. It was all investigated. It's a huge crime, Anyway, so anyway.
Yeah, but the rally, do you know what, Tiff? It's a shame because these are some of the best drivers in the world. Some beautiful places. Estonia is just stunning, but it just doesn't, it's not really for the spectators. I think unless you're there and you're one of those crazy people that run out on the road when they go past, it's just not really for television or YouTube, is it? It's not.
It is in the evening. Highlights are great because you put all the good best shots in, but it's a live sport. I mean, there are a few people. You can subscribe, can't you, WEC Live. You can have live on board all the parts. I mean, there are plenty of fanatical rally fans that will subscribe to that and watch the rally live, but it's all down to the stopwatch at the end. So until you get to the end of the stage and the watch stops, you don't really know who's winning and who's losing. And we're talking about winning and losing just quickly on the world rate, excitement, British interest it's the junior, the third Formula 3 WRC 3 junior. John Armstrong came third. And he's been leading the championship. There's only one round to go now. He still leads the championship. He's got these two Finnish kids chasing him hard. They're all within about 4 points with one rally to go, the Acropolis in Greece, obviously, if you know that thing. So 27-year-old Northern Ireland, John Armstrong, go follow him on Twitter. He could be a British champion in the world rallies if he can hold on to his lead in Greece. Well done, John. Keep it up.
Good stuff. Do you want to go, because there's not that much going on, do you want to go over to America with Indycar?
More clothing drama.
It is quite funny. It is quite funny. And we're golf fans. We watched Aussie Cameron Smith win the Open yesterday separately, but he's got a mullet, and we're going to talk about mullets in IndyCar as well.
Not quite a mullet. Colton Herter is. He's just got an awful lot of hair. And of course, he's just returned from his McLaren test in Portimao, so he's a big name at the moment. He was running second, he led early on. He was on pole down in an amazing track, Toronto. I predicted last week would be a great race. It was a bit disappointing, a bit procession at the end. Scott Dixon got past him on the pit stop strategy to go on to his 52nd win. Scott Dixon, he's now level with Mario Andretti in the second most winners, still 15 behind AJ Foyt. So Scott Dixon's crew to win. Rossi was second, and he was being caught by Felix Rosenqvist, who's battling to stay in IndyCar with McLaren, so he needs some good results. Apparently, Colton's balaclava burst, and all his hair started coming around the front of his face. He talks about in the interview, so I can sort of see Rosenqvist turning into turn 4, but I couldn't see him anymore because he probably couldn't see the mirrors and anything. So he had to battle to the finish to finish second. Well, Rosenqvist had a clash with Alexander Rossi, so more control. Poor old Rossi was at a miserable time. He's about 14th or 15th in the points, I think, now. But he clashed with his teammate, Roman Grosjean, at Mid-Ohio, went into the barriers, had his steering wheel knocked out of his hand. And it happened again in Toronto. There's this famous hairpin at the end of the back straight, and Rosenqvist, trying to prove that he's the McLaren driver to keep the IndyCar seat next year, dived up the inside of his soon-to-be teammate, Rossi. And it was a bit unfortunate. And Rossi gave him plenty of room. They're good. I mean, you see, if you watch some of the Toronto races, the side-by-side stuff they do with concrete walls both sides, they all know the limits. And Rossi gave him enough limit. But it's just that Rosenqvist gave it a bootful coming out of the hairpin to try and complete the pass. And he just had a bit of oversteer, and he straightened it up, and they were front wheel to front wheel, which knocked the steering out of Rossi's hand, which was happened last week, and speared him straight into the concrete wall. So Alexander Rossi not having a good time, except he's signed for McLaren next year, which is something which all this controversy is going on. Alex Palou doesn't know if he is or if he isn't. So because he's with Ganassi, who said he's staying, got a contract, and McLaren the same day, so a week ago, said, no, he's not, he's coming to us. So that's now in the courts of law. And so McLaren have got so many drivers because they've already signed Rossi, and they've still got Pato Award. They've got Rosenquist, who doesn't know if he's staying in IndyCar or being shipped out to Formula E racing. Then there's also Palau, who could take everyone's seat. So huge. McLaren have 4 drivers for their 3 slots,
but
and one in Formula E.
Surely Daniel Ricciardo's got to go. He's got to make way for
but I think it's one more. That's why, who knows? One of those could be in the Formula One car.
He's one of the most popular men ever to drive a Formula One car. But I think I really do. So Balaclava Gate is the highlight of our journalistic.
Good fight there for the championship. Because Scott Dixon winning, he's now within one. He's in 5th place, but he's 1 win's worth of points away from getting ahead of Marcus Ericsson at the top of the table. So there's 5 of them covered by about 1 win, with Will Power, Palo, and Marcus Ericsson's leading Joseph Newgarden. So really good title fight building up in the IndyCar world.
And tell me, Tiff, in IndyCar, like Formula One, they have undercards as well. There was
the feeder series.
Yeah. So what else?
More British good news. So we had a British rally driver in Formula 3 rallying, and we've got a British racing driver in Formula 3 IndyCar. It's called IndyCar Pro 2000. And it's interesting actually because it's 18-year-old Louis Foster who won again. He's extended his championship lead. And he chose to go to America because he was one of the 4 Autosport Award winners. So we got 3, Ollie Behrman, Zach O'Sullivan and Johnny Edgar went to Formula 3, and they're battling every time there's a Formula 3 race. So they're staying, looking at that Formula 1 dream. I think Louis Foster and his dad thought, we're not going to get there, but come on, boys, the chances, of getting there. So he deliberately chose to move to America. And he won in Ginettas, 4 years ago, in British Formula 4, British Formula 3. Then last year was second in the Euro Formula, which is the Formula European Championship. So he's gone off to America to do Indy Pro 2000. He's leading the championship by a big margin. If he wins the championship, there's over $500,000 because they've got this ladder up into the next formula to help drivers go. He'd be in Indy Lights next year if he wins it. So Louis decided that's the way to go. He wants to be an IndyCar driver, and he's making a pretty good fist of it so far. So Louis Foster, another name that you might have heard of, and looking at a career in America.
But there's no reason why he couldn't go from there doing a successful season to be picked up in Formula One. He's 18.
Could still. Well, that's what the likes of Colton Herder and Pato Award and Alex Palou. They are looking to come from IndyCar back to Formula One. Yeah, so Formula 2 at the moment, a lot of Formula 2 in Europe is filled up with people in their 3rd or 4th season. So in a way, there's no real standouts this year in Formula 2. I've been looking, we've had this American kid's coming good. He's probably thinking that he should be the American that gets to Formula 1. But there could well be. I think the next Formula 1 driver will come from IndyCar.
Yeah.
So
nice. Maybe American, but I don't know. It'd be interesting who gets the drive, certainly. But I think Ricciardo's got to go. I hate to say it, but I think he's got to go. Make way for someone else. NASCAR.
Yeah,
there was a bit of argy-bargy, wasn't there?
At least there's always some. It wasn't the best race again, New Hampshire. It's quite a flat oval, so they can't so much side. But there's some good racing in between, some drama. But Christopher Bell, who hasn't won, he's become the 14th different winner this year in NASCAR. I mean, you think of other formulas where 1 or 2 people win all year. And of course, at the end of the year, they have their shootout playoff thing, and only the top 16 are in that. So there's now 14 slots have been grabbed, and only 2 people are left to be promoted on points alone. So it's all sort of excitement there. But no, the highlight of NASCAR, Austin Dillon, when the safety car came out, and he obviously must be, for some reason, he was slightly upset with the driving of one Brad Keselowski. So on the cruising under safety car, he decided just to run up the hill, just to bash into Keselowski with his front right wheel into Keselowski's door, sort of reasonably softly, but hard enough. To which Brad, who's not known to take things lightly, decided he would retaliate with a rather larger amount of force down the hill, smashed into Austin Dillon. And then they had a bit of more bargy. And this is the way NASCAR drivers sort out differences. There was this is what happens. Keselowski actually recovered to finish 7th, and Dillon ended up a lap down in 23rd.
Why would would you jeopardise your race just to get a bit of road rage out of the way?
Well, let's just, look, boy, don't muck about with me, boy, or I'll doubly muck about with you. In fact, there was actually a real bit of tension in the middle, because Ross Chastain, who twice has now put Denny Hamlin off the 11 car, 1 against 11, was dicing for about 5 laps side by side. They're all going, because Chastain was on the inside. So one small accidental slide up the banking would have put Hamlin in the wall again. And this is what they do. That's what they do. Anyway.
So rate other than that incident, rate the race on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of excitement.
It was about a 5 out of 10. It was good that we had a new winner.
Standard NASCAR then, is that what you're saying?
No, it's not. Standard, that's higher than 5.
Above average NASCAR is what you're saying.
Below average NASCAR.
Sorry, NASCAR. Right, just down the road in New York, not really New York City, but kind of New York backdrop.
The Docklands.
Yeah,
we had the camera's always trying to get Manhattan in the back of shot. The fact that it's over the river or whatever, and
but it was
not really city
Formula
centre.
It was Formula E, so electric racing, and it's quite interesting looking at this and following it, and people in the comments saying, quite rightly saying, are these faster than Formula One cars? And what are the similarities? And you know what? There's not much similarity. They're great drivers, but
brilliant drivers, but all running to a computer program.
Oh, it's so
and it
boring.
Depends which team's got the computer program right. But of course, it ended in, we're talking about drama this week. This is our theme, really. It's dramatic moments in motorsport rather than great races. And when this torrent of rain came out, and 3 of the top 4 just went straight on at the end of the straight. Nick Cassidy was just horrendous aquaplaning. And they just slammed the brakes. Of course, the red flag came out quite rightly, but there was still 10 minutes to go. So there was a bit of controversy in standing around, and a couple of Jaguar drivers, particularly Sam Bird, were pretty miffed. Well, when are we going to restart? No, we're declaring the race. And because it was red flagged, it would go back 2 laps from when the crashes happened, which means that the 3 guys in the barriers took the podium places. I think only 2 of the 3.
So remind me what the governing body of Formula E is?
The F and the I and the A. I can think of lots of words to use in there, the Fs and the As. And I don't know where they found this rule. Because, certainly in qualifying, if you cause the red flag, you get your times deleted, you go to the back of the grid. And I always thought in motorsport as well, if you cause the red flag, you're out of the results. Now, I know aquaplaning was bad luck, and obviously the leaders hit it first, so that was just unfortunate, but they were the ones in the wall, and people behind them managed to stay on track.
How can you win a race that you crashed out of and you can't continue in?
Well,
how is that possible?
There was some theory that the red flag was almost thrown a millisecond before they crashed. Therefore, they didn't crash under it anyway. I don't know. But you've got to restart a race or remove the people. I think in the old days, you had to it was the famous James Hunt of the British Grand Prix. Talk about 1976. We're talking about the weather this weekend, how it was so hot, and we're all going to die. But in 1976, I lost the Formula 4 2000 championship because it was so flipping hot. I remember that. My car boiled its engine regularly. The 76 Brands Hatch, of course, was the first corner crash, and James Hunt came into the pits, the back of Brands Hatch pits, and didn't complete the lap on the track with his damaged car. So he was excluded because it said you have to finish the lap. I think that's the same with any red flag. If you can't drive round and finish the lap under the red flag, then you can't restart and you can't be counted.
Absolutely.
So
surely that should be common sense, but there's not much common sense, it seems, with the FIA these days.
Yeah. So Nick Cassidy won. I think it was his first win. So he won it with a completely destroyed car. Felix da Costa cruised the win on the day 2. It's quite processional. He came through to win from Stoffel van Dorn. In fact, Stoffel van Dorn got 3rd. He was also crashed. So maybe one of the people that crashed and survived, Stoffel van Dorn, got points, and he added those to another 2nd place on day 2, and he now leads the championship. With just 2 rounds to go. London, the end of July. I think Seoul in August, but I think Seoul's fixture's still a bit iffy. So 2 rounds to go in the Formula E, and about 4 drivers, Mitch Evans, Eduardo Mortaro in with a chance. One driver that won't be around in Formula E next year, Alexander Sims, who I really respect, a brilliant driver. The sad thing is he's a real electric car advocate. He's a big into, the future and looking after everything. But he just hasn't managed to gel with driving a Formula E car. He was a BMW factory driver about 2 or 3 years ago. I think he's had 1 win, but he just says he can't get on with it and he wants out. he wants to go back to racing real cars. He was a real star in GT racing. You know, he was, of course, he was driving the Corvette team at Le Mans as a third driver and was taken out when leading by that wandering LMP2 car. So Alexander Sims has had enough of Formula E.
But we've always said it.
Most of us have.
Yeah, we have. It's just so frustrating because they're brilliant drivers, and I get what they were trying to do or are trying to do, but it's just, as a driver, you want to race, and there's a clue in the title.
Well, as a spectator, you want to watch. But they just go between wall to wall. You can't. I mean, 90% of the track you cannot be seen by spectators. They have these little grandstands. It's all bizarre.
But even on the TV, Tiff, which is where most of us will watch our motorsport, it's rubbish. It's
they can't go where. They don't change gear. It's just Actually, Mitch Evans, we do have to say, drivers, there was a moment he tried to overtake someone, forgetting who, he hit a bump. The most amazing recovery I've ever seen. Oh, the thing just went under braking and his tank stepped the other way, and he sort of drifted into the runoff area and managed to keep it pointing in the right direction.
But again, I watched that a few times. So for those who didn't see it, so as Tiff said, he hit a big bump and it's got it all out of shape. But a Formula One car would have carried, I don't know whether it was the extra weight on the Formula E car, but the Formula One car would have carried on sliding with the momentum and probably gone in the barriers. But it stopped so suddenly. Did you notice that?
Well, he's only doing about 100 miles an hour. Don't forget.
Okay.
They're not doing 200 miles an hour. This is always the thing when they launched. They launched the new Gen 4, 5, 6, like Gen 3 next car. You know, it's incapable of 200 miles an hour. And all the Twitters and the people say, oh, this is great, I'll do 200 miles. No, they won't do 200 miles an hour, not around those ridiculous tight circuits. They'll do about...
What the top speed is that's recorded on any race in any Formula
One? I think Mexico, I think they do about 120. I think that's the most, I think that's the fastest speed I think I've ever seen. They might do it in qualifying, of course, but in the race, of course, halfway down the straight, they're lifting and coasting because they need to conserve their power.
Hang on. Do you think the highest speed achieved in a Formula E race this whole season is 120 miles an hour, there or thereabouts?
I think so, yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I'm happy to be wrong. So
121 mials an hour up that Hanger Straight in my Caterham on GPS, 125 horsepower.
We'll have to fact check that. Please fact check. We don't tell lies on Lovecars. We just spread rumours. We don't know who makes them up.
Formula E, I think the drivers are some of the best in the world. The cars look fantastic. It just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. But there you go. Who cares? Who cares about my opinion on Formula E anyway?
Look forward to Alexander Sims. Looking forward to back in GT, IMSA, something exciting.
And good for you to stand up and say it's not right for you. Good for you. Yeah. Well, let's go to Donington Park. And I still can't believe these guys on two wheels are going down Craner's Curve on
now you drive around
World Superbike. So it was
the drama there, no real drama, but Toprak Razgatlioglu had a hat trick of wins to bring himself back up. He's the reigning champion, but he's been falling by the points, and so he's now up to third. He's getting closer. But it's the same three riders every week. I don't think anybody else has been on the podium hardly. He won 3. Jonathan Ray had a second and 2/3. Suzuki and Alvaro Bautista fell off in race 1, the championship leader, and had a couple of seconds to recover. There was a bit of bitchiness going on in motorbikes as well, a bit like NASCAR, which I like. There's Scott Redding, who's Bautista's taken his Ducati ride. So Scott wasn't doing that well with Ducati the last couple of years, I think, in World Superbikes. He's had a win or two. So he was bitching for them because he's only winning all these races because he weighs 60 kilograms and he's very small. So obviously it's a bit embarrassing to him now that a Ducati rider is leading the championship. Scott is a big lad. It's always held him back. When he's in Moto3, he was just too big in the wind. This is the trouble. Moto3 gets all these tiny little Spanish riders and Italians, which is a bit of a shame because it's almost like, if you're a big lad, you might as well give up trying to be a MotoGP rider because, literally your physical size is a problem for the drag and not your weight is a problem on the bike. I mean, Scott's calling for bikes to be weighed with riders, which is what we do in cars, which I don't think happens at all. I don't think it happens in MotoGPs at all. But anyway, so Scott, because he must be laughing, because he got a podium, his first podium with a BMW, because Bautista crashed his Ducati. So there was a double whammy there for Scott. Laughing is enjoying his podium, I've no doubt.
And do you know how old Toprak is?
21.
No, he's 25. He's a bit older than I thought. I thought he was.
Well, he's been around for a while.
Yeah, it's longer than you think, actually. I
A
read
lot
up
of
a little
talk.
bit about him.
You know, Yamaha. He'll be in MotoGP next year. They're talking.
Okay. Yeah, good stuff. But Donington, crikey, just nuts how these guys, or any circuit on those bikes, it's just incredible how they do it. It really is. They're different breeds.
Love watching them.
Yes.
Also, it's the same with anything that's exciting. It's why I love IndyCar. You know, onboards of Toronto, snaps of oversteer with a concrete wall right next door to you. That's what makes me, jump out of my chair. Not going around Paul Ricard with a bit of understeer. And then we're going on to track limits. It's that. I need to be excited.
The problem is modern cars make us all soft, and you watch it and you think that's so easy, and you almost think I could do that. The reality is you couldn't. Well, maybe you could back in the day, but modern cars. So that's when you see the IndyCar and you see them struggling, and you see it just, you think, wow, these guys are great drivers, and it's almost the unachievable, Tiff, when the armchair viewer thinks that Formula One is so easy. The amount of people that comment, I could do that. I could do that. No, you couldn't, mate. No, you couldn't.
Which is why, on my Top Gear debut in 1987, I deliberately made the car go sideways. Even back then, it was a Formula First racing car, a very Top Gear debut when Chris Goffey broke his ankle and couldn't drive it. So even before I did the film, I thought it looks a bit boring sometimes. So I deliberately chucked it sideways, and that's what I've been held with. I thought being on television, I get more drives professionally in circuit racing. I think people watch me going sideways on telly thinking I'm not employing him.
Fair play to Chris Harris. He always acknowledges that you were the founder of the sideways drift, which is respect to him. So next weekend, or this weekend coming up, beg your pardon, Formula One's back. As we said, at Paul Ricard, the bit of a dull fest circuit in terms of plenty of runoff. Formula 2's there as well. IndyCar heads to Iowa. Track
limit drive. Get your glasses on to get rid of the psychedelic phrase.
Where's NASCAR?
IndyCar Iowa, NASCAR Pocono. It's a little triangular track, a weird oval, which is quite a challenge. I can't remember. It's a good race. I mean, need to make notes of which tracks in NASCAR cause the best races, because there's definitely some doing it, some that don't. And then nothing in British Superbikes at Brands Hatch.
So another big hill to contend with on two wheels down at Paddock. Yeah.
Well, on that long circuit, fabulous track, the full old Grand Prix circuit. The British GTs are off to Spa in Belgium for one of their away trips, which they like to have. So, if you want to go to Spa,
I'd love to go to Spa. And Brands Hatch has got to be one of the best places to watch as a spectator live as well. Up on the top grandstand, you can virtually see. Well, you can't see the whole track of the other circuit, but you can see a lot of corners, which is a good place to be. Out in the sunshine, watching British Superbikes.
Phone. Someone's picked it up. That's good. The phone, the bell that ends the podcast.
Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Mind the heat, everybody. Mind the heat.
Yeah, be careful.
Or as I used to say, it's a lovely day out. Go and have some fun, but be careful. Be sensible. But it's summertime. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.